Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Beyond Survival. I'm joined by Dr. Ruth Callahan, who is a chartered behavioural psychologist, psychotherapist, and clinical supervisor with over 20 years' experience, 11 years with the Irish Youth Justice Service, and over 10 years in private practice. Ruth, how's it going?
It's going good. Looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah, I think we'll just jump right in.
Sounds good.
Dear Katie and Ruth, thank you for the incredible work you do. Your podcast and resources have helped me make sense of an upbringing in a way I never thought possible, and for the first time, I feel truly heard. I've been no contact with my parents for around 3 years. Through therapy and my own research, I've reached a place of clarity and, for the most part, peace. I'm an only child, which I think adds an important layer to all of this. In my early 20s, I moved overseas with my now husband, and together we've built a life we're deeply proud of with our 2 children. My husband has been incredibly supportive through all of this, and I don't think I could have navigated this journey without him. Over 10 years ago, my parents chose to follow us. It wasn't something we wanted, but I held on to the hope that things might improve. I had always felt something was off, but it wasn't until I experienced the ease and warmth of my relationship with my in-laws that I realised just how different and difficult my relationship with my own parents was. My mother is a covert narcissist, and my father has always been the enabling parent. A few years ago, after a catalyst event, something shifted in me. After 38 years, I could finally see the patterns clearly, and I knew I couldn't keep exposing myself or my family to that environment. When I went no contact, things escalated quickly. Uninvited visits, letting themselves into our home, abusive phone calls, and my father telling me I was making them want to kill themselves. When I tried to keep some form of contact, he minimised everything and eventually told me, "We come as a pair, you see us both or neither." My mother then escalated things legally, sending threatening letters demanding access to my children without ever once attempting repair. It felt like pure control and punishment. Over time, things have quietened, but the attempts to provoke contact have never fully stopped. Recently, after a social media post showed my in-laws visiting us, they are still friends on social media with my parents, I received a brief letter saying my father has been diagnosed with dementia. There was no real detail, just that, and have a nice time with the in-laws while they are here. The timing felt hard to ignore. I believe the diagnosis is likely true, but the way it was shared has brought up a lot. My father has always been the safer parent in my mind, and there's a sadness in accepting that he didn't protect me. One of the last things my mother said to me was that she wouldn't look after him when he developed dementia. We all noticed changes in him years ago that he refused to accept. I don't feel this changes my decision to remain no contact, but it does bring up grief, confusion, and a sense of emotional conflict I wasn't expecting. I would really value your perspective on how to navigate this kind of situation when an estranged parent becomes seriously unwell after a history of narcissistic abuse. How do you reconcile the pull of compassion and grief with the need to maintain boundaries that have been so hard won? And is there a healthy way to process this without reopening the door to further harm? Thank you again, Anonymous.
Oh, Katie, I'm not going to lie to you. There was moments when I was reading that letter that I got panicky at one point because it felt like this pursuit was going on. The boundary violations. Imagine you move country and they pursue you. They come after you. It's nearly. I can feel the threat level so high here, so aggressive in the boundary violations. Oh my goodness. I legit had to pause and take a moment because I was getting, I hate using the word triggered, but I was nearly, my nervous system was getting activated as I was reading the letter. It's so, this poor listener has been through so much.
She has.
So much.
I love that you mention that and bring that up, because when somebody grows up in this environment, that is just their normal, that lived experience, their baseline is just so high. And I'm glad that you're naming it, that pursuit, that incessant, continuous pursuit. Yeah, this
You're
freedom
being
that she got,
chased
this
down.
being chased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Belonging,
Horrible.
ownership,
Control. Demanding control. Really demanding. Like, it's so aggressive.
It is. It's so aggressive. And then here to go down even then the legal route, that when they said no, you're really seeing the rage, the overt rage, and that demand for control.
Oh, my heart goes out to this listener, I noticed at another point in the letter, and maybe we'll go into that a little later, I became really emotional as well, and had to take another pause, because there's so many big feelings in this letter, and there's so much abuse, and there's so many layers and levels of abuse, so much manipulation. Imagine saying you're driving us to kill ourselves. Like, how dare anybody use suicidality in that kind of a weaponized way towards anyone? It's such an emotionally abusive thing to do. And then to try and suggest that you have ownership over my ability to terminate my life. How outrageous is that?
It's so outrageous. I highlighted that whole sentence that the listener wrote. When I went no contact, things escalated quickly. Uninvited visits, letting themselves into our home, abusive phone calls, and my father telling me I was making them want to kill themselves. I see this all the time with narcissistic people, whether this is an abusive partner or if this is an abusive parent, and that incessant, I can't live without you. Yeah, you're making me want to kill myself, or the narcissistic parent more so even weaponizing death, that you'll be sorry when I'm gone. You'll have to live with yourself. So really being so manipulative and eliciting that grief, the fear of future grief, that I won't be able to bear and tolerate what it's like when they're gone. And I even wonder then if that seeps into the listener's question when she's talking about managing this part, managing the obligation or the grief. And I know I'm jumping further because I want to go back to this part. I really want to name the abuse like you're doing here.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, stay with that. Like a child, we talk about this all the time, how important it is for a child to have autonomy and freedom and to spread their wings. And that is being denied so overtly, that they're following them and not allowing them to do that. I mean, what life does the parents have by themselves? Where are their friends? Where are their interests? Where is their job? Like, what are they doing? Where is their life? It sounds like it is consumed because they own you and they want you. That, like, there, when you're talking about the panic, like, I feel like I can't breathe. I'm feeling suffocated and smothered, and it's like stifled, but back off. Like, holy shit. Like, it's overpowering.
And the enmeshment, the level of enmeshment there must be so unbelievable. I can't even imagine what it must have been like as she was growing up. But you see something interesting that just occurs to me as I'm listening to you there, Katie. The power that this listener has, unbeknownst to her. I mean, it feels as though mum and dad are holding all the cards here, and they were so aggressive in it. But actually, she is all powerful for sure. Like, she's holding a lot of power over her parents, unbeknownst to her all of this time. And maybe that's the threat to them.
Yeah. Can you name that more? Like, I'm here nodding away, and I'm like, you're right, because I don't know if this listener can hear it. Because when somebody, Jesus, to get solicitors' letters through your door, that is frightening for, an average person. But when this then is from your abuser, and your abuser then is not, it has done this from childhood, that you have that inner child that's petrified. This is huge. So can you name what you're talking about there? Because I see it too, and it's wonderful.
I suppose what I'm sitting with is to be this activated by someone putting in a boundary, to be this charged, to be this motivated to take so much aggressive action, move country I'm assuming a later stage in their lives, if we're talking about dementia, although we can have early onset. I don't want to make assumptions, but I assume that they're a little bit further on. If they've an adult child, they're a little bit towards the end stages of life, to uproot at that stage and pursue. That's, I mean, of course, aggressive, but it also shows their powerlessness to be without her in some kind of way. So I wonder about that, like, and to be so motivated to, every time there's a boundary, there's such a violent reaction to that. This listener, quite unbeknownst to herself, no doubt, has a massive impact on her parents, and maybe holds a lot more power in this dynamic than she's ever been let consider.
There's something in this part where the listener says that I'm an only child, which I think adds an important layer to this. I
It
absolutely
does.
think so. When I think of the roles in the narcissistic family system, the scapegoat, the golden child, the gilded child, the one that's
Yeah.
emotionally parentified that can think they're golden, and the invisible child. And sometimes the roles in families are very rigid, and sometimes they're more fluid, and or they can stay rigid for a long time and then they can move. But for an only child, this is so confusing. Like whiplash
Yeah.
is the word that we use in the book. It's whiplash because I can be this in the morning and I can be this in the evening, and then I have no even visual to see how my mother or father is behaving with other children. So in a narcissistic family system, it's so unlikely that siblings will have good, healthy relationships because they're pitted
Yeah.
against each other, because they're divided. But there's something that if there's three or more in the family system, that they can see that, okay, my parent is like this with somebody else
Yeah.
some of the times. It absolutely no way compensates or makes up for the behavior, especially for the scapegoated child that gets this from birth. And even as I say that, all the children,
Yeah.
even the golden child, because they don't stand a chance either.
This listener acknowledges that when she says, it wasn't until I saw the dynamic in my in-laws family that I realized how batshit
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing there,
No,
how
yeah.
batshit crazy my own situation was. And there's something really live in that, especially for smaller sized families, that it gets so normalized.
Yes.
This level of enmeshment and entrenchment and stifling gets so normalized. We just assume everybody else's family must be like this too, especially when we're not seeing a dynamic play out with a sibling.
You're right. And then, it's when I think of the larger families, it's so evident in all the families that then this is normalized, because this is actually what's happening to everyone, because it's happening in my cousin's house, or their mother or father behaves like this. But the only child, all this attention, like again, that stifling feeling suffocated, it's like they're boring holes in me, that I am so important to them. Like to say that you wanting to live your own life is making me want to kill myself. Like that's pure manipulation.
Oh my
there.
God.
But for the
Horrible.
child, imagine the weight and the guilt that carries. Oh my God. And look at how that's framed, that you love me so much that you can't bear to live without me. And look at the illusion then of power. So you're right naming healthy power that this listener has, but look at the illusion of power now, that I actually can make you happy, that I can control your emotions, that I can keep you alive or not. That's an illusion of power that's so unfair, and it's unfair because it's manipulative. You don't hold that power over anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so important to stress and really highlight to this listener, because my fantasy is, as a child, that seeping in, maybe not explicitly said, but very implicitly implied, our very existence is in your hands. Now, that's a disgustingly big responsibility to hand a small child. And I like, this listener didn't say that, but I have to assume that it was in the mix somewhere. That's terrifying, to have that much responsibility and accountability foisted on you. That's
It's
such
terrible,
a young
and I'm
age.
glad you know that. Disgusting, because when I, disgust is shame. That I'm ashamed. I'm disgusted by your behavior.
Yeah.
But what happens with the dynamic with the narcissistic parent is that the shame is projected onto the child, and the child internalizes it. Oh, there's something wrong with me. That's terrible. I have shame because I wanted to go on my own holiday, or I wanted to see my own friends, or I want to move across the country, or I wanted to do this in college. Oh my God, I feel I'm such a bad daughter for thinking that. Whereas it's not. The disgust lies with them. The disgust lies with them. That is, for a parent to do that, that is so wrong and controlling.
It's projected, right?
It's absolute projection. And you named it when you were talking about then the listener with the in-laws. And so I wonder if we just tease out what she may have seen. Again, this isn't in the letter, but when I think of healthy dynamics, is that if somebody's going on holidays or moving house or doing something, that there will be support, right? Oh, where are you going? Tell me about it. I'm interested and I'm excited. And oh my God, I'll miss you. But like, I can't wait to hear what you're doing.
And that my growth and development is celebrated rather than stymied. I'm not pulled back. I'm encouraged to fly.
Yes.
That's a complete, slap in the face. Reality slap, you might say, for anyone who has lived in a very enmeshed, tightly controlled, tightly wound kind of environment and situation where we don't have that autonomy. And every break or bid for freedom is not only not celebrated, but put down and crushed,
Yes.
maybe in many cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the control and dominance, the shame. Other things maybe in healthy dynamics, if one of the, so when I say kids, I mean the adult kids, if they don't want to go to a family function, if they have something on, if they're tired, it's like, oh, that, like that's a pity, but if you're busy, like that's fine. There's not this conceited effort and flying monkeys and everybody phoning you going, mom's really upset or dad's really upset and would you not do this and would you not do that? And this whole bid to get you to do the thing that they want you to do. There's more ease, there's connection. And I think one of the biggest thing in healthy family dynamics is that there's healthy interest. I want to hear from you. I
love
love
that.
to hear from you, right? The healthy parent, I want you to phone me. I'd love you to phone me, but I don't believe in any way that's your job or your role. Obviously, I'm the parent, so I'll phone you. I'll check in on you. And if you don't answer the phone, there's no rage, there's no silent treatment. I'll buzz you again at the weekend and be like, well, missed the call. How are you doing? And for somebody that has grown up with control, but obviously doesn't know it's control, it's like, oh my God, am I in a, is this an altered dimension here? Like, what the fuck? And they're constantly bracing themselves for getting in trouble. I'm doing quote, getting in trouble. Like, to the partner, no, you can't do this. Like you'll get in trouble. And in a healthy dynamic, it's like, oh yeah, no, this'll be grand.
Yeah. And that you can actually pursue your needs
Yeah.
without consequence, so rather than only being focused on the needs of the other.
Yes. Yeah. Conflicts are talked about. If somebody's pissed off, hey, you did this thing.
It's not
I'm
just
not happy
swept
with
under
it.
the carpet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
It's
parent
actually dealt with.
Yeah, a healthy parent holds that confidentiality, that if you're pissed off at your sibling, you can come and tell me, the parent. I'm not going to twist and manipulate that. In fact, I'm going to help you work towards repair. Like, be angry at me and then like, what can you go back and do? There's going to be that supportiveness.
They'll even allow for repair within their faults and mistakes and blunders and everything else. So which would be completely alien to somebody who's coming from a background that didn't have that. So I think I love the idea of let's focus on what might have been experienced with the healthy dynamic, because we talk so much about the unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose touch or lose sight of what it looks like when things are actually as they should, what could be.
It is. And this is the main reason why I wrote the CAM method, the course that I do for parents, because without this upbringing, I think that a lot of the mainstream parenting information is all about attuning to the needs of your child.
Yeah.
And it's assuming that you came from a relatively normal or relatively calm background. Whereas if you have never been shown what this is, now there can be such a sense of responsibility for a parent, and they can jump in too quickly with their own kids then when there's sibling rows to make sure that I'm not triangulating and that you have a good relationship and I want you to be happy and nice to each other the whole time and I'm going to apologize, right? It's coming from fear. It's not coming from control. But we are then over involved instead of healthily being able to take that step back. And yes, of course, I'm not talking about if there's a safety issue here or, if there's any bullying. I'm talking about normal sibling bickering or rivalry. But that can be very triggering for somebody where they didn't have that support. And we can be activated and jump in. And for us not to do that, it can feel like we're being neglectful and abandoning. And again, it's this going, where is the healthy guide? And a lot of people think
you need
that
a touchstone.
You do, but and that's vast. This is the thing about really being able to acknowledge what abuse is, because if we minimize the abuse, we can think that these things are very close. Whereas abuse is here, but often we can swing this way as a parent. But a healthy scope, this listener hopefully is what she's talking about seeing, there's so much room. There's room for somebody to make mistakes and be annoyed and calm down and come back and repair. There's room for voices. There's room for healthy arguments and disagreements. There's rooms for their voice to be heard. And this part really got me, Ruth, at the beginning of this listener's letter, where she thanked us and said the podcast and resources have made her sense of upbringing, she understood it in a way she never thought possible. And for the first time, I feel truly heard. At 38,
Yeah.
It's the first time I feel truly understood and heard. And I hear the support that she has around her. But for this part, like to feel really seen, like there's such a devastation in that hasn't happened to you and you didn't have that in childhood. This is basic, the basic act that parents look and that sort of loving gaze that see the goodness in their kids.
As the mother of an only child,
Mm.
how can you not see? It's not like you've got 16 that you're trying to, parcel out attention to, and how can you not see your only child?
I love that. Can you say more about that than maybe as the perspective that you have as a mother of an only child?
Hmm.
Because yeah, I think that's a little be invaluable to show that healthy side. So here, yes, how can you not see their goodness when you have all the
You're
time?
not distracted. Like,
Yeah.
where's your attention going? I mean,
Mm.
I appreciate like super large families. You're juggling so much, and it's hard to have quality
Yeah,
time,
I
quality
have 4 kids,
attention.
and that's something that I have to purposefully, actively
Surely.
make time for. And can one-on-one can fall by the wayside, and then I'm like, oh, no, like it's something that I
Hmm.
actively have to, and we do, Frank too,
Hmm.
like we actively plan. And again, not to overwhelm parents because they're like, oh my God, like you're talking about 5 even or 10 minutes of
Oh
just
yeah,
that
that's
one-on-one
low.
time. Yeah.
I remember saying to a client of mine some years ago, just maintaining eye contact for a couple of seconds
Yeah.
with a child is very meaningful, live, non-contingent attention that's going to be
So they're
really, really
keeping,
valuable to
yeah,
them.
that eye contact, but there's these parents, it's like their eyes are boring holes
Yeah,
into me.
yeah.
Again, that suffocation, I can't breathe.
But they're not actually seeing you. They're
No.
seeing the version of you that's going to meet their needs.
Yeah.
And that's soul destroying. That's so difficult to sit with. Because my fantasy is that this listener who wrote in, she was seen, as you say, they were boring holes into her. They were so, oh, she was under a microscope nearly,
Yeah.
but wasn't seen for herself.
I have an image of being in a rock, like rigid, because that's the narcissistic
Hmm.
parent projects that image, and it's rigid, and I
Hmm.
can't move. And yet, this is the power, the healthy power you were talking about, Ruth. She broke free from that, moved the other side of the country. Yes, they followed. That is on them. But you did this. You broke free.
Yeah,
And that part, even in the letter, you exist here. You said it wasn't something we wanted, but I held on to hope that things might
yeah.
improve.
Oh,
I and I wonder that absolutely could have been present,
yeah,
but I wonder even there how much ingrained fear was there to say no,
yeah,
because that fear, and this is the thing, this is where it would have been present with the child, that when you would have said no or went against them, that you would have experienced their wrath, even if you can't remember it as a child. The stone cold silent treatment, the iciness, the emotional abandonment, I mean, all of it is there present. But here, because when you said no, like their level of attack is extreme. It is extreme.
yeah.
And so I wonder, even though you were going, oh, maybe it'll be okay. I wonder, was that actually the fear talking? Because I can't say no to them. All hell will fucking break loose. And now
Yeah.
I can only hope that it'll be okay. Yeah, because that's,
And maybe, well, more than likely, by the looks of things, my no wouldn't have been heard anyway. I'd have
yeah.
been punished for it, and still they would have pursued me
Mhm.
because it seems as though they're
Pursued me. Oh my
so
God.
aggressive in it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think a no would have been heard at all. So it was probably self-preservation.
Mm.
I have to make my peace with some sort of toxic hope.
So your wee man, he is very young, but
Sure.
so when and empty nest syndrome is a thing, right? For parents that
Hmm.
I'm not in any way minimizing this, and this can be hard for when kids leave home or when the last child leaves home.
Yes.
But this is for a parent to manage their own grief or get support with their partner or friends
Yeah.
or therapy, and to be supportive of the child. But when an only child then grows up in that environment where you are my world, you are my
Yeah.
existence, and I
Yeah.
can't live without you.
But look at those expectations, that level of expectation. Like,
Yeah.
how unfair to impose that on a child. Like, I see my wee fella, and yeah, he's my sun, moon, and stars. No two ways about it, and
Mm.
as absolutely as it should be. But I'm so excited to see what he does when he flies the nest. I'm so excited to see how he lives his life. And just as you said there, if I get the odd phone call, that'd be smashing too. But I'm not going to be, the thumb screws won't be out. Like, I'm not going to be forcing or attempting to pull him back in, or I just want the
I love
privilege
that. I'm
of watching.
excited. The freedom already exists there. There's an
Yeah.
acknowledgement that, and this is happening because the whole time with
Mhm.
kids, we are actually raising them for independence. It's why
Uh-huh.
they're out of nappies, why they, learn to wipe their own arse in the toilet,
Yeah.
feed themselves, whatever
Yeah.
steps they're taking, it's all towards
But you see now,
autonomy and freedom.
if I was coming at it with the attitude of you're going to save me or rescue me in some kind of way, if I was imposing that on my wee fella, then that becomes really toxic very, very quickly. Because as soon as he fails to rescue me, which of course he can't because I can only rescue myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have pushback on that. Or as soon as he for what their viewpoint might be, abandons me and moves to another country. Not abandoning
Yeah.
anyone. You're just living your life, right? But that would be the perspective of no. You're supposed to be here rescuing me. You're supposed to be my savior. How dare you flee? And it did like now I have to pursue you and hunt you down, and because you have to fulfill this
Hunt
thing
you
for me.
down. That
That's
is
what
it,
it
isn't it?
felt like.
Hunt you down.
It really did. Like it felt like a pursuit, a chase.
And even there with the legal, I'm going to hunt you down.
Mhm.
And there was something there that you said, Ruth, about the rescuing, right? And you're right that they can only rescue themselves. But that part that this is your job to rescue me, to make me happy.
Mhm.
And here, this is the question that's coming up for the listener around this part, around the father's dementia. I would really value your perspective on how to navigate this kind of situation when an estranged parent becomes seriously unwell after a history of narcissistic abuse. How do you reconcile the pull of compassion and grief with the need to maintain boundaries that have been so hard won? And is there a healthy way to process this without reopening the door to further harm? For that, I would just go back to even the most recent interaction, that when your in-laws posted pictures of your gathering, how your mother responded to you. And the message that she had said was, it was a brief letter saying that your father has been diagnosed with dementia, no real detail. And then it was just, have a nice time with the in-laws while they are here.
It was
The
a
timing
punch.
felt hard. It is a punch. And this is the part where hypervigilance is born. When a child can't trust the words that come out of their parents' mouth, where they have to look for the hidden meaning, where they have to see the underlying agenda and go with that, where the words and behavior don't match, right? This is our focus. This is what hypervigilance is, that hyper alert, because I have to understand it and see it. And for a lot of people that either don't understand narcissistic abuse or want to deny and minimize it, they can read that and say, oh, sure, that's just saying have a nice time. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You were 100% right to trust that gut. Have a nice time with the in-laws while they are here. That's how can I have boundaries with this person when they don't respect my no?
No.
You can't have boundaries. Boundaries are for people that, well, no, I'm going to change that. Requests are for people that are reasonable. If I say to you, like, don't phone me after 10 o'clock, right? That's a request. The boundary then after that is that I won't answer the phone, let's say after 10 o'clock. But then abusive people send solicitors' letters, continue to harass and phone and phone and phone and phone. So we're talking about then, well, what is the next step for me to protect myself? Because the other person is absolutely not listening. And in fact, anytime I say the words no, it's going to escalate things further. So how can I possibly hold a boundary?
You can't. And that's what they're banking on. But Katie, I wanted to bring this in. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I got really emotional at part of this letter, and the part of the letter of it was when there was mention of Mam stating quite explicitly that she had every intention of abandoning dad rather than care for him if he got dementia. So there was obviously something, there's reference made to, there was something in the mix where they were kind of wondering, might there be a cognitive decline maybe going on with that? And lo and behold, the diagnosis comes in. But like for me, I noticed a gut punch when I read that, because as you mentioned, the key question that this listener is asking, how do I hard won boundaries that I'm after, how do you navigate all this? And for me, the big piece was, do I now have to sit with the potential that my father is going to be neglected in some way in his illness and his dementia? And, me being the only child, how do I sit with that? Knowing the cruelty that mom has, knowing how vicious she is, knowing she's very, very capable, no doubt, of, walking away in some way. And, something, I sat with it and sat with it and sat with it, because it troubled me so much what kind of toxic obligation that creates, for this listener. And ultimately I came to this, and this is, okay, caveat, preface this by saying this is a bit brutal, but I have it in me, right? But I sat with, if we're allowing that it's okay for mom to abandon dad in his illness, that's the rule set. So therefore, it's absolutely okay for this listener to walk away too. We've set the stage, mom set the stage there, so let's play by her rules. She wants control. Okay, malicious compliance. Let's go with it. So now we can all step away from dad's dementia.
The cogs are turning here in my mind. Yeah, I'm like,
I'm being obtuse here.
No,
of course
you are,
I am.
but this sometimes, because when you grow up in a narcissistic family system, there is just like one right way. There is the only way, and what you are doing is deconstructing that, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't this just highlight the double standard?
Oh,
the fucking double standard that I can walk away from my husband that I married, those vows till death do us part, but I can walk away from him. But you can't walk away from me. And there's an extra fuckery to this, right? When I think of consequences, because the father allowed, and this, the grief here that the listener talked about, discovering that he was not the safe parent, that he enabled this. And he allowed her and enabled her to abuse you. And this part then, that if you're being pulled, that you now have to protect him from her behavior. And again, look at the dynamic you're being pulled back into, being the parent to him. He is the adult here, and it is hard. And this part, this rescuing, there can be a part, and there's nowhere I hear it here in the letter, but it can be that part where it can become our identity. And I don't know how to not rescue, but there's an infantilization in that when we do that to adults, because he is an adult here. And now that he has the onset of dementia, or is discovering this, you may be an only child, but where is his community, if he has any? Generate narcissistic people that don't have people around it. Does he have siblings? Does he have anybody? Has he made contingency? Where is the healthcare, if there's any? Does he have provisions? And this is the part, he is an adult. If there's, what other resources? His GP, like any free supports, paid supports. There's this part that we forget. And it's not that we forget. We've been trained and conditioned to believe that
we're the only source of care.
Yeah, but that the enabling parent is childlike.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor them, and they can't help it, and they need rescuing and caring. Whereas we need to fundamentally shift that. He is an adult. He is an adult, and he is married to her. And right now, he still can leave her if he wants.
And you know what? You talk about fuckery. Let me give you this one, right? When the listener approached dad and obviously wanted some relationship with him, but not with mom, he said, we come as a pair. So he chose someone who would gladly,
oh my God, yes, Ruth,
gladly abandon him. He tied his allegiance to someone who's openly stating that she would abandon
in that. He chose this.
Yeah.
He did. He really did.
He did. So that there's something about, well, maybe I have to respect his choice and step away and continue to mind my boundaries here.
There's something hugely powerful in that, because then the manipulation, like he did choose that, but then is manipulating or going that you'll be the death of me, like you're killing me. No, you chose this. You made this decision.
For me, it's about he made his allegiance clear to someone who was openly stating that she'd willingly abandon him if he became troublesome or burdensome to her.
Yeah. And I don't know if this analogy will work, so bear
Sure.
with me here, right? But when somebody is actively drowning, right?
Yeah.
They will pull you under,
Yeah.
right? Unless, one, they want to be saved and you have the resources for this, right? So this is where we would throw them, what's it called, a buoy, or we would, if they have a life jacket, if we have a life jacket to give them and they have to put it on, if there's a boat to get into the boat, all these sorts of analogies to help them. But if somebody doesn't want in any way to choose this, and they're saying, no, I've made my allegiance. I'm staying in this pool. I'm staying in this shark-infested water. The question of boundaries that she said, we've already addressed that. You can't have boundaries with people that won't allow them. Your mother, the vicious attack, your father went along with that, but also his refusal of your boundary. When you were saying, in whatever way that language was, can I have a relationship with you? No. He didn't allow that in any way either. So I don't see where this is in any way possible for you to enter back into a place and not be treated horribly, disgustingly, abusively, harmfully, in a way that will significantly impact your mental health negatively. Because one of the things of survivors of abuse is, and this listener, is that their survival response is so strong. I can manage this. Like, I can tough this out. This in healing is detrimental when you shed off those layers, break free from that iron, from that stone, are able to get in touch with that hurt, that vulnerability, that love, to then be open and to go in and be so viciously attacked.
I think that was for me, and it was the point in the letter where the illusion of a safe parent when it came to dad dissipated. It just disappeared, because that's when he showed his collusion in the abuse.
Yeah. I also want to say, Ruth, there's nowhere in the letter she's been asked to take care of him either.
No.
She's not been asked.
That's an assumption that I had.
But it's there, right? It's absolutely been weaved throughout her entire existence and upbringing. But again, we have to, go with the words that's been said to you now. You haven't been asked.
No.
You haven't been asked. Your father has made his choice. You haven't been asked. You're right. This is an attack when your in-laws have posted that. And I even want you to maybe look at that and see where your boundaries is around that. You cannot make your in-laws or demand that they unfriend your parents. I do wonder why they're still friends with them. Perhaps it's that, you don't want an attack on them if they refuse. But I think with Facebook, if you unfriend somebody or block them, I don't even think they know. But your boundary could be around, please don't share pictures of me and my family, or when you're in our company on Facebook, because my parents see it, right? That is a healthy boundary. And then also, and not to live in any sort of fear, but you haven't been asked to do anything. And typically a narcissistic parent doesn't ask. They use motivational empathy. They try to make you feel guilty. Oh, I'm doing this all by myself, or, nobody was in to see your father today, or any of that information. But you haven't been asked to do anything here. That's all manipulation. And by the way, when you're asked, you can still say no. This is typically where we'd see flying monkeys come into the mix. This listener doesn't mention them at all. I don't know whether there's none, whether both of the parents come from small families themselves. But that's the part as well, that you get to hold boundaries with that. But yeah, that you haven't been asked. That guilt, that turmoil, that obligation, that's manipulation, and that was never on you.
I wonder if it might come at some point for this listener. So for me, I want her forewarned and forearmed, so to speak. So there's something about the stall was set out largely by Mam when she made that statement. Well, if it is dementia, I won't be looking after him. And I ended up looking this up.
By the way,
horrible, but you know how common it is.
Mm.
21% of marriages ended when the wife became chronically ill or terminally ill, and 3% of marriages ended when the husband became chronically ill. So it's rarer, a lot more rare for women to leave the marriage, but it's not unheard of at all. I wasn't aware of this. I did sort of subscribe to the till death us do part, and you're in it through thick and thin, and sickness and health and all that jazz, right? So I wasn't aware at all how frequent or how common it is for spouses to abandon a chronically ill spouse. This
I
is
came
phenomenal.
across the statistic before how much higher, and I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was. You read it out there, how much higher it was
sure.
that men leave. And
3 times.
that was really shown up because it was the woman that was the caretaker and met every need. And then it was when
Yeah,
she stopped that and was looking for care or a modicum of support back, the
didn't
marriage
come.
broke down because it was so one
But
sided.
I wonder if this listener has been, I suppose, indoctrinated to become the caregiver all through her life.
Yes, and when I think of, and this listener doesn't say it, when I think of the enabling
Yeah,
parent and that part where you thought he was safer. So typically then
yeah,
that's where he confides in her and emotionally parentifies the child and uses the child as a substitute spouse. So then
yeah,
here, that obligation as a substitute spouse going, oh, is this my role? And as an only child, this is not your role. You should never have been put in the position being a substitute spouse.
yeah,
That is what's wrong. That is what's the fuckery. But that is
yeah.
the ingrained part. And I love what you're saying, actually. Yes, to be more prepared for even when you are asked.
Yeah, and I think it is a when rather than an if.
Mm.
Well, I mean, we'd love to think it was an if, but we know how these things go, right? But I totally get when this listener talks about the emotional conflict. I
Mm.
totally get that it's in the mix
Mhm.
because every fiber of your being has been, built around this idea that this toxic obligation, this, unfortunately, I've heard people say it explicitly. Oh, I want to have kids so that I'll have someone to look after me when I'm older.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. That's not
Yeah.
how it goes.
Hmm.
Love flows down the generational loop,
Mm.
not up, so we have to unpick those stitches that hold that in our psyche. It's we're here to look after the next generation, our children, not flow back up. So there's something that we really have to work at a societal level almost in unpicking some of those assumptions and that toxic obligation that's in the mix.
You're right. You're 100% right. And there is something then fundamentally different if you are brought up in safety with loving parents. And then
Yes.
here, and it still will be really tough that when they are unwell and if they are
Yeah.
dying or if they have dementia or whatever, and you want to support them and give them
By all means.
care. Absolutely. This is like more healthy community.
Yeah.
But in no way should you be in any way obligated to care for your abuser.
Hmm.
Like imagine if this was any other relationship other than the child and parent, and if this had been an abusive husband. It's wonderful that this listener is talking about, being in a safe relationship. The chances are when children come out of narcissistic family systems, it's actually higher that you're going to be in unhealthy relationships. And
Yeah.
our next letter, Ruth, for next week, we're going to talk about that when somebody gets into an unhealthy dynamic, because that's
Yeah.
generally the picture that I see with my clients and in my client group. But imagine that if you, the listener, was in an abusive relationship with your husband, and then you divorce your husband. You no longer want to be anywhere near him because he is so harmful, abusive, and now he has dementia. Would you in any way question, or would society question, and would you have any
No,
obligation to take care of him? No.
no. But
Yeah.
there was something very powerful there, Katie, in what you said. You're in no way obligated to care for your abuser.
Mm.
And I think there's something really valuable in that for your listeners. Let's just take the parent role out of it for a
Yeah.
minute. As you say, this is abuse and this was abuse. And, maybe we don't have the scars to prove it, but emotional abuse, psychological abuse is abuse. And,
Mhm.
and I'm sick saying it nearly, but I really want to hammer that home for people that,
Mhm.
let's call it what it is. Let's
Mhm.
name it.
The reality of that can be hard to sit with, isn't it?
Well, there's a grief, massive grief in
Yeah.
it, because not only are we grieving the relationship with the parents that we could have, would have, should have had, but we're also grieving the fact that we were abused. There's a grief in sitting with and acknowledging, oh shit, yeah, no, that wasn't okay. that was abusive. Well, it was wrapped up as love. It was sold as love, but it wasn't love at all.
No.
Yeah.
There's a heaviness with that, and that is what grief is, and a reality that, you know, when I'm talking about what we can do to the enabling parent, infantilize them, I don't want to do this to this listener. Like that grief, and you said it, that turmoil, that emotional conflict is there and it's present, and you're feeling exactly as you're supposed to be feeling. This is so understandable with what you've gone through. And Ruth, I think you actually named this in the last episode. You were talking about having, you know, to try and generate more of a window of tolerance for these conflicting experiences, that we can want the answers and certainty to fit it into this yes or no, or it's this and that, and to allow space even for the conflict. And that doesn't mean that you're going to make a decision on the days that you feel your empathy, because of course you can have empathy. I have empathy for anyone that is in a relationship where their partner has said that they're not going to take care of them. Like, you're human and you're going to have empathy. But this is your father. This is somebody that you wanted and hoped to have a relationship with and be loved and cared, and he didn't do that. And so you can have empathy for them and their situation and still hold your boundaries and not tolerate the behavior.
Absolutely. And there's a grief in, maybe under different circumstances, we would have loved the opportunity to care for a loved one. And that's being denied us too. And it's not fair. It's shit. And it's not fair. But I wanted to say something, and I know we spoke about this even in the last episode as well, about this idea that if I step out of my people-pleasing mode at all, that somehow instantly makes me a narcissist. And I want to be really explicit for this listener. You maintaining and holding your boundaries and not running to a caregiving position does not make you a narcissist by any way, shape, or form. And I that was never mentioned in the letter, but I want to make it really abundantly clear that you caring for yourself is not you framing your needs above anybody else's at all.
I love
it's
that.
only right and as you should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
I love that, and I think that's a good place to end it, Ruth. And I know the heaviness that we're even leaving it, but this is, you know, back to the beginning. This is when we're seen. We get to be seen with all our emotions, and in this, you don't have to do this alone. When you're saying you have a supportive partner, I wonder what friend groups you have. I wonder what support groups you have. I wonder, are you in therapy with somebody that is familiar with narcissistic abuse, with coercive control, because you deserve support around these parts. And if you're saying at 38 that this is the first time you're feeling seen, this is going to bring up so much emotions. And you have so much awareness throughout the letter. Like, there's so much awareness there. But
a lot of work done already.
Yeah, and to see what you need through this next stage, through this next period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind yourself in this, because my fantasy is that there will be further demands down the line. So take care.
And I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm so fucking proud of what you've done, and in the face of their attacks,
overwhelmingly aggressive attacks.
That is amazing. That is amazing, and recognizing that power you have. And with that, we'll leave it there, Ruth, and we'll see you all again next week.
Look forward to it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.